On behalf of Chairman McCain, Senator Lee, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks to all of you for being here. Secretary Carter, on December 3rd, just a few months ago, you announced that the military branches would be opening all military occupational specialties, or MOSs, to service members regardless of gender, on the basis of various provisions in several iterations of the National Defense Authorization Act, and on the basis of committee hearings and formal briefings with members and staff. At the time of your decision, you were certainly aware of Congress's interest in being closely consulted on the matter. Nevertheless, in your announcement and in subsequent briefings with members of Congress, you failed to discuss the legal and practical implications this decision could have on the Selective Service in America. So my concern is that it seems the Department may have made a policy decision and left up to Congress and the courts to deal with the difficult legal ramifications. So I'd like to know what assessments, Mr. Secretary, has the Department of Defense made to examine how opening all MOSs to female service members will affect the Selective Service Act, and what assessments have you made to examine how requiring American women to register for the draft or alternatively ending the Selective Service altogether would affect military readiness, recruitment, retention, and morale?
Well, thank you, Senator. Thank you for that question. Let me just begin at the beginning. Why did we do this in the first place? The reason to open up all MOSs to females is to make sure that we're able to access what is, after all, 50% of the population.
Right, and understand, I'm not expressing concern about that decision on the merits of that one. I'm talking about its implications for the Selective Service.
I do understand. So that is the action we took, and as far as informing the Congress is concerned, we have the implementation plans for that, including everything that is required by law in order for us to do what we need to do. Separately is the Selective Service system, which is not administered by us and is governed by statute, so you will have a voice in any implications for that. My own belief about that is twofold. First, it stands to reason that you'll reconsider the Selective Service system and its treatment of females in view of the Department of Defense's policies and practices with respect to women as well as men. But the second thing I'd like to say about the Selective Service system and the draft generally is this: we want to pick our people. We don't want people forced to serve us, and we don't want all the people that are young people that are in our country. We pick very carefully. In fact, but only about a little bit more than 2/3 of young Americans even meet our basic qualifications. Many of them are, I'm sad to say, obese or have other health issues. 1/3 of them haven't graduated from high school, and we want high school graduates. About 10% of them have criminal records, and that make it impossible for us to want them. So we don't want a draft. We don't want people chosen for us. We want to pick people. That's what the all-volunteer force is about. That's why the all-volunteer force is so excellent, and that's why we're constantly trying to make sure we keep up with labor markets and generational trends and so forth, so that we continue to pick and have access to the very best people. Look at the magnificent people we have now in uniform. I need to make sure that tomorrow and 10 years from now and 20 years from now, we're also able to attract the very best. But now and then, we want to pick. We don't want to have people picked for us. We want to pick ourselves.
Great. Thank you, and I appreciate that. I appreciate the sentiment that I think I understand you expressing, which is that any change to the universe of persons subject to the Selective Service registration requirement needs to be made by Congress with input from the American people rather than administratively or by the courts.
It's set in law.
In a long-ranging interview published with The Atlantic, President Obama has expressed his disdain for security free riders when it comes to allies in Europe and parts of the Middle East. However, your FY17 budget calls for a quadrupling of the European Reassurance Initiative and robust OCO funding for our activities in the Middle East. So how do you and how does the administration, how does President Obama reconcile concerns that President Obama has expressed about some of our allies who are not taking steps to increase their defense spending, or who are potentially abusing their relationship with us, their alliance with us for their own benefit, without making corresponding increases to their investment in defense spending?
Well, I'll just say, as Secretary of Defense, I think America needs to lead, and I'm happy to have us lead. And we have by far and away more capability than anybody else. But we need others to join us and get in the game. You mentioned Europe. We have been urging very insistently Europeans to spend more on their own defense. Some are doing what they're supposed to do. I, for example, commend the United Kingdom, which has recently increased its percentage of GDP and has agreed to stay at what all the NATO countries agreed, which is a minimum of 2%. And they're not all there yet. And then as you go around the world with respect to others, allies in the Gulf and so forth, we are looking for people to join us. There, the Counter-ISIL Coalition, the effort to deter Iranian aggression, that's something we need our security partners to do with us. So we're prepared to lead, we're willing to lead, but I think it's fair to turn to our partners and say, we need you to join us. Now, my role in that is very specifically, and the chairman's as well, to describe for our, let's take the Counter-ISIL Coalition, what it is we need. So here's what we need. We need some more ISR help from you. We need some special forces from you. We need, and this is important, reconstruction funding for places like Ramadi. So if you don't have any forces, or you don't want to put your forces there, you could open your wallet. That's needed. And so we try to give them choices for how they can make a contribution and lead them in that direction. But we need people to follow. It's an important part of my job, and I know the chairman does this well, to talk to our counterparts and say, we need everybody in the game if we're going to have a peaceful world. We share this world together. We share this future together. You got to get in the game. Let me ask the chairman if he wants to.
No, I just emphasize what the Secretary said. I think a key part of our responsibilities on a day-to-day basis, and I recently went to the region and met with 30 of the chiefs of defense from our coalition partners to encourage their participation. But one of the things we do very hard is work on where they can make a contribution and encourage them to actually do that. I mean, that's an ongoing process. Are we satisfied with where we are? Never.
Thank you, General Dunford, and thank you, Secretary Carter.
Thank you.